Welcome to SDH's Look on Everything going on in the Southeastern Conference of the NPSL. Busy show. And we'll start you off with the match of the week. And it was a 4-goal thriller in McDonough between the Georgia Revs and Apotheos FC. Here's your highlights, courtesy of our friends at Veter 11 Sports, the NPSL, and the Revs.
Ball stays in play somehow. Bad pass. And Apotheos gets the first goal. And that might be starting the new defender that hasn't played as much with the boys. It was Benji Jones for Apotheos FC. Had a feeling that was coming, though. I mean, like I said earlier, the Revs kind of been sleepwalking the first part of this game so far. And just in that instance there, that soft pass right back to the middle is something you don't want to do in that situation. Just either give it to the keeper there, let him boot it, or boot it down yourself. See if the Revs can get themselves back together here and get something put to, get back that goal. And, of course, we've seen this before. Revs went down 2-0 the first game of the season. We're able to bring it back within the first 30 minutes of the game. So, not over yet, but definitely not where they want to be. And there's that goal. The one you didn't want to see if you're a Revs fan. That man again, Benji Jones, with 2 goals now.
Goal, Apotheos.
And now you've got a situation that's reverse of what Apotheos had last week, where last week they had to fight back from a 2-0 deficit. Now the question is, can they keep a 2-0 lead? It's a totally different thing. As we've seen, the Revs have already pegged back a 2-0 so far this season, something this team's really good at, and we know they can score in bunches. So it's interesting, especially with a new team like Apotheos, who isn't really used to playing in this conference, is how do you keep that mental stability after you go 2-0 up? It's like they always say, 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in the world. And the Revs get their goal!
Starting off the scoring for your Georgia Revolution, number 9, Brad K.
And that is the goal that Brad's been waiting for. Brad K is now tied with his former Clayton State teammate, Ryan King. All-time scoring list for the Georgia Revolution. Something that Brad K has been trying to get since early last season. He finally gets tied with him. And the Revs get a penalty in stoppage time! That was a terrible foul by Apotheos.
I believe K is getting ready to step up to take this one.
Ringdahl got his head on the end of that ball, but it wasn't going to anybody dangerous. There was no reason to do the foul there.
No, that was a very interesting action right there.
It looks like George Maxwell, the defender, is coming up to take this. It's interesting. You would expect either Brad K or Callum Scora, but
riding the confidence.
George takes a step, and he scores! And now we see how much more time is left in this match. There was probably only a minute or two left of stoppage before that penalty, but that's obviously going to add a little more. Dare to dream maybe the Revs ride this wave of momentum and get another one. We'll see.
So down 2-0, the Revs come back to tie it at 2 by the time that we're done, leading into this upcoming week of matches. We caught up with head coach Jack Marchand of the Revs to get his thoughts on what happened in that match and what's going to be happening this weekend on a big road trip. All right. You're still in a log jam at the top. I mean, this is a never-ending thing for you. Six matches in, and you're still hanging in there. It is a group of folks.
It certainly is. It certainly is. It's entertaining for the neutrals, for sure.
When you look back at last week, what sticks in your mind? What were some of your takeaways?
How bad we were for 75 minutes, I think is the big one. It was disappointing. We had a good week in training last week, and then for one reason or another, we just never got going. Which is the pleasing thing, I guess. It was the first time it's happened all season, and hopefully the last. But again, we just never got going. It was really disappointing. It's not what we're about. It's not what we've worked on all season long. But again, as I said post game, full credit to the guys for figuring it out with 15 minutes to go. And I'm not sure what the equivalent of daylight robbery is at 9:30 p.m., but that was certainly the case on Saturday.
So then how do you take the first 75, then the final 15, and apply that to training in this week to get you ready for another match? How do you segment and compartmentalize all that stuff?
I think from a mental standpoint, you have to ball the first 75 minutes and throw them away. Because again, it was an anomaly for us. We hadn't performed like that all season. If it was an ongoing trend, then I think we'd address it a little bit more. But again, we've kind of rolled up our sleeves this week of training and got after it. We managed to play a scrimmage Monday, and then we trained again Wednesday. And again, like I said, once the night's over on Saturday and you wake up Sunday, you kind of got to forget about it. You got to refresh and go again. So we've started anew this week, and we've had 2 good sessions.
So what do you think about your opponent?
North Alabama, I mean, it's a strange one for us. We've obviously played Apotheos and Appalachian twice now and yet to play North Alabama. They've obviously started the season very strong, got a good result last week at home. And that's the thing. We're going into the Lions Den a little bit here. They're going to be riding a wave, and we've got to pull up our socks and get ready to go. I mean, I think you've seen this year, if you look at the 2 teams at the top, it's North Alabama and Appalachian. And they're the same head coaches last year and the majority of the same group as the year before. So although it's in short terms, they're extremely experienced group at this level and in this conference. And I think that goes to show why they are where they are. But they'll be organized. They'll be raring to go. But we'll be going in there to turn a few heads, hopefully. Destination of that road trip is North Alabama SC. North Alabama SC shut out Georgia Storm at Jack Allen by the score of 4-0. They welcome the Revs this weekend. We caught up with their head coach, Nico Bermudez, about the 4-0 win and the opponent coming up. Did you anticipate the log jam that we've seen so far at the top of the conference through 6 matches?
No, I mean, it's surprising to have that many teams. It was a quadruple tie right now for first, or it was at least to last week, which, I mean, it says a lot of this competition, right? It's, this conference is strong. The teams are now starting to find their grounds. And I mean, I think it's good for everybody that competition stays there. So it's a push all the way to the perhaps the very end of the season.
For those that haven't had the chance to catch one of your matches so far this year, who've been some of your standouts that folks need to pay attention to here in the stretch run?
Well, some of the players that we announced a little bit at the beginning of the season as well. On the back, Ethan Wilson, Kobe Nesbitt have been very, very strong, very consistent in the performance. In the middle, Miguel Tizapa continues to be a very big asset for us on the offensive side. And in the last line, on the attacking side, Deshaun McDonald has so far scored 4 goals for us, and he's been a big factor in the offensive, as well as Andrew Strait or Patrick Goffey for us.
When you look back at last week, dominating win, what are some of your takeaways from a win like that at Jack Allen when you put 4 on the board?
I mean, for us, the biggest challenge, just taking from even from last season, was to find consistency in our performance. Being able to manage the game, whether it's you're attacking, when you're in possession or even without possession, being able to be consistent, to be organized, be patient, whether you is defending and preventing the other team from attacking us, or when it comes to building an attack. And I think that's what we needed: a solid performance to dominate both halves of the game, and obviously keep the goal at 0. I think that was a big one for us.
And now you get to stay at home. You don't have to try to figure out the best way to get from point A to point B. You've got another match at Jack Allen, and it's the Revs, who are 2 points behind you right now in the standings, who've been a part of that log jam. What's study hall been like so far getting ready for the Revs this weekend?
Well, I mean, if there's something that you can see in the results, is there's been a progression, right? They had the first game against Appalachian the first week of the season, and they're still trying to find their footing. I think they only have a couple starting players compared from the roster from last season. And I think now, as the season progressed, they're starting to find the core of the team. So their performances so far have been strong. I mean, they have 4-0, 5-0 results and whatnot. Competitive match. I think obviously they have a couple players there that have been consistent for them. Bello, Calhoun in the middle. So definitely keep an eye on those. And if we can again find that consistency and us being in control of the game and playing our way, I think it will be key for us.
Last question for you. What's the fan support been like of the matches at home this year? What's it been like at Jack Allen to see everybody turn out?
Well, Jack Allen, in relation to Huntsville, is about 45 minutes west of us, just due to the amount of maintenance and repairs that we're experiencing here in town. So that obviously has affected attendance. I don't think we haven't had that many people or fans coming to our fields, which is it's a pity. But hopefully for next season, once all the fields here in Huntsville are repaired and ready to go, we will have an increase in that sense. We just wish also that the community will be a bit more behind all our programs, our NPSL, WPSL, just because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're offering an opportunity for our players in the community to prepare themselves to be active during the summer and compete at a higher level.
The other matchup, a 6-goal shootout. Appalachian FC at Ted Mackerel beats LSA Atletico Lanier by the score of 4-2. We caught up with Dale Parker coming into this week to find out what he anticipated in that match, and his assessment was square. Right on there in a 6-goal win, 6 goals in a 4-2 win for Appalachian FC. Takeaways from the match last week. Did you expect 6 goals in the back of the net by the time it was done?
No, it was typical App FC home performance where lots of excitement, lots of goals, some very unusual situations leading to unusual goals, but that's what you get when you come to Ted Mac on a Saturday evening. But yeah, I mean, whenever you score 4 goals yourself and get 3 points, you got to take it.
So what has study hall been like this week getting ready for your next opponent?
It's been tough. Apotheos they're a very, very good team. The league table is a bit deceiving, I think, for them. They're a good side. They've got some good players. They've improved since the first game. They're on the verge of getting into that top 4 and competing for a playoff spot. And obviously they came up the mountain and took all 3 points the last time we played them. We know they're going to have a good game plan. Don't know exactly what it will be. They've played certain ways against certain teams, and they're off the back of a really, really good performance last weekend. So we expect a really tough match. We're going to be prepared as best we can. But this is not a typical first versus fifth kind of game. That this is going to be a top of the table clash, and we fully expect them to be prepared for us on Saturday.
And one of the things that I wanted to get in with you about over the season is the travel aspect and having to pack up your life, hop into a bus or multiple buses or vans and be in a location by Saturday night, probably 5 or 5:30, 2 hours ahead of time, stretch your legs, all that kind of stuff. For a trip like this, where you're coming down from the mountain and you're heading to the Atlanta suburbs, albeit on a weekend, and you're not necessarily having to fight the murderous traffic that's there, what goes into the travel for not a trip that's not as long as, say, North Alabama, but still pretty substantive?
Yeah, we learned a lot last year when we traveled. We didn't win a game away from home last year. So it's something that we analysed and how we can do it better. So for us now, we try and just get up, get on the bus, get on the road. The earlier we get to the location, the better. It gives us time to climatize, to walk around. Obviously, every climate that we play in is different to our home environment. So we've got to get used to that, feel the heat. Because literally you drive off the mountain, you get off the bus and it's a whole other temperature. So we're dealing with that much, much better this year. We're better prepared with how we feed the guys, with how they're preparing, while we're driving, while we're on the bus, when we make certain stops at certain places. And our idea this year was just to get there as early as we can, get checked into the hotel and try and make it feel a bit more, like a home game, or a bit more like we've been in that town or in that city for potentially longer than we have. And it's worked. The last few times we've played away from home, the boys have felt a bit more comfortable, and it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be a perfect scenario, but we're trying to do it, learning from last year, we're trying to do it better.
And so Appalachian hits the road this week. They go to Apotheos, 7:30 Saturday night at North Cobb Christian. Georgia Storm, they get LSA Atletico Lanier. Those are your other matchups in the Southeast, in the Southeast Conference. So let's take a peek at the standings and show you that the grouping that we have had the entire time is still there when it comes to the standings here in the summer season. You had 4 teams with the same record heading into last week's action. And right now with the 4-2 win, Appalachian and North Alabama, they're both on top at 3-1-2. Appalachian still has 3 more goals scored than North Alabama does at 14-11. Georgia Revs are at 2-1-3. They are in third. Atletico Lanier is in fourth at 2-2-2. They've only scored 6. They've given up 9. They're at -3 in goal difference. They're in fourth. Apotheos, 4 draws in their first 6 matches. They're in fifth. And Georgia Storm, 5 losses in their first 6. They are in sixth right now. And we caught up with Stephen Bivens to find out what's been going on with the Storm so far this season out in Carrollton. All right, 6 matches in, how would you assess what Storm have done this year? Obviously, when you look at wins and losses, it's not what you were looking for. But when you look at play, I mean, you've been in most of your matches. There were a couple where the game kind of got away from you this season. But what have you taken away so far from your first 6?
Yeah, so obviously the results haven't been in our favor. We have been able to play a lot of our younger guys from last year and from our academy. So, we're in this for the long haul. And our first year, we did have a lot of success. And this year, we have a little bit different makeup of a team. And it's a bit younger, a bit less experienced. So there's been a lot of good lessons that the players and our coaching staff and myself have learned from these games. And so we're looking to get a result this weekend. Obviously, we're here to try and get wins, and that's the goal. But, we've been able to play some of our younger players. They've gotten some more minutes. They're gaining some experience. And so we're coming together. It's just a little bit slower than we thought, which is fine. But, we're thinking year 2, 3, 4, when we have some of our Georgia Storm Academy graduates really starting to get some minutes in these games and really be impact players.
Well, and I think a lot of folks who are listen to the network know that approach from a lot of teams in the footprint, specifically Atlanta United. So this isn't something that's completely foreign to folks with what you're doing this season out there in Carrollton.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, obviously the end of the day, we want to get results, but we do have a long-term approach where we want to get some of our younger guys minutes and experience. So that way we can be successful going forward too.
All right, let's take a look at last week before we get into this week's match. How rough of a road trip is it to pack up and head to North Alabama, just in general?
Yeah, so it's a big ordeal, and everybody knows in this league that getting your whole team to travel every single time is a bit of a challenge, depending on injuries and everything going on. So taking the trip is obviously a tough one. Alabama are great hosts. They're probably one of the top hosts in the conference, I would say. They're very welcoming and they have great facilities and everything. But getting there on the road after a 3-hour bus ride is obviously a challenge. But it's not an excuse for us to go and perform the way that we did. We obviously we started slow in that game and it really, really affected us. And we tried to dig ourselves out in the second half and didn't really get to where we wanted to be.
So now that one is behind you, what are the lessons that you're taking from that one as you've got a home match this weekend going up against Atletico Lanier?
Yeah, so the guys have continued to grow together. We have made some personnel changes. We've made a couple personnel changes throughout the season so far that have been positive, and negative impacts. So we're looking forward to making some changes for this coming week. We've got some of our more experienced guys coming back with us that we didn't have this past weekend due to injuries and things like that. So hopefully this weekend we can really put something together. And now that we're 6 weeks in here, the guys are really getting to know each other and playing with each other, and we're looking for that result.
So that's your quick wrap of everything going on in the Southeast Conference in the NPSL. Reminder: all the matches 7:30 on your Saturday night for your schedule. So if you are close by, then please do catch the great action that you see in the NPSL every single week. And you can catch it if you are near North Cobb Christian, near the University of West Georgia, or in Jack Allen up in North Alabama. Catch the action, or you can follow along on your local providers or 11 Sports and at the NPSL to get all of your action. So thanks for hanging out with us here with SDH with our run of everything going on in a very, very tight, very busy Southeast Conference in the NPSL. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy the games. We'll catch up with you next week.